So you've probably heard of D4VD, right? David Anthony Burke. He basically is the internet. Blew up on TikTok, his songs are all over the Billboard charts. I mean, he became one of the biggest voices for his generation. But this explainer, it's not about his rise to fame. It's about a story that just completely shattered that perfect image overnight. And it involves some of the most horrifying allegations you can even imagine. And really, it all boils down to one question. A question that connects this artist everyone loves to a discovery so gruesome. I mean, it would have been a huge local news story all on its own, but once his name was attached, it just spiraled. It became one of the darkest, most complicated internet investigations I think we've ever seen. Okay, so let's get into it. So, before any famous names were attached, before all the internet detectives jumped on this, the story starts out pretty simply, with a car and a really, really bad smell. It sounds like the beginning of a crime show, right? But the reality was so much worse. Okay, so when you look at this timeline, what's really shocking is just how long this car sat there. It was abandoned for 3 whole days before anyone even bothered to tow it. And then it sat for another 2 days at an impound lot before someone finally investigated that smell. When the LAPD were finally called in, what they found in that trunk, it was just beyond anyone's worst nightmare. We're talking about the dismembered remains of a person stuffed into black plastic bags. And the state of the body told them this wasn't something that just happened. In fact, forensics suggested the victim could have been in that trunk for as long as a month. I mean, that just adds this whole other chilling layer to the crime. And as tragic as this discovery was, it was the very next step in the investigation that flipped everything on its head. So, the police did the most basic thing they do in a situation like this. They ran the plates. And the name that popped up, it instantly turned this local tragedy into a massive international news story, with literally millions of people watching. Yeah, the car was registered to D4VD. All of a sudden, one of Gen Z's absolute favorite artists is directly linked to this brutal homicide. The question on everyone's mind was, how? How is this possible? And what was his involvement? You know how the internet is. Public opinion just split right down the middle, instantly. On one side, you had his fans, even other streamers jumping to his defense. They were saying, look, he's on tour, he's this super likable, chill guy, and even the LAPD pointed out he owns a bunch of cars that other people use. But then, there was the other side, and they had this one huge nagging question. The car was never reported stolen. And come on, we all know Teslas are incredibly hard to steal without the owner knowing something's up. That one detail created this cloud of suspicion that his defenders just couldn't brush away. So for more than a week, this debate just raged online. But then, forensic testing finally put a name to the victim. And with her identity came a whole series of disturbing connections that would completely change how everyone saw this case. The victim's name was Celeste Rivas, and she was only 15 years old. In fact, she was supposed to turn 15 just the day before her body was found. What makes this even more heartbreaking is that she'd been reported missing from her home for over a year. And this is where things started to look really, really bad for D4VD. First, a key detail used to identify Celeste was a shush tattoo on her right index finger, a tattoo that D4VD has in the exact same spot. Now, okay, on its own, that could be a wild coincidence, but then TMZ interviewed Celeste's mother, and she revealed that right before her daughter disappeared, she had a boyfriend named David. And that was the moment the internet just exploded and went into full-on detective mode. What happened next was just this massive, decentralized online investigation. Seriously, people started digging through every single corner of D4V's digital life, and the amount of stuff they found was just overwhelming. It painted a picture that was so much darker than anyone could have ever guessed. So you might be asking, how did they find all this stuff? Well, they started pulling up old, seemingly forgotten live streams. They uncovered and leaked logs from his private Discord server, and they began to look at everything he ever created, his song lyrics, his old tweets, his TikTok reposts. But now they were looking at it all through this new, horrifying lens. Literally every digital breadcrumb was put under a microscope. Okay, so maybe the single most damning piece of video that surfaced is from a live stream back in January 2024. In it, the young girl he's with, who a lot of people are pretty sure is Celeste, calls him a child rapist. And his reaction, it isn't denial, it's not anger, it's just pure panic. He immediately shuts down the stream and starts telling his mods, quote, delete everything, delete everything, everything goes, everything goes. It's a moment that's just incredibly hard to explain away. And the stuff found in his Discord server, it painted an even more disturbing picture. Leaked logs show him talking with a user named Celeste way back in 2021. Now, if this was Celeste Rivas, she would have been just 11 years old at the time, talking to a 15-year-old D4VD. This timeline just lays it all out, and it shows the significant and deeply, deeply disturbing age gap throughout all of their alleged interactions. Right, so this is the crucial part. It seems like some people knew something was wrong. This screenshot, and there are others like it, shows a user in his own server trying to sound the alarm. They use the slang term PDF file, which is basically internet code for a pedophile. They were trying to tell people, even posting about Celeste being missing, but in a server with thousands of users, it seems like they were just shouting into the void. It really makes you wonder how many other people might have known but just stayed silent. Of course, his art came under intense scrutiny too. His huge breakout hit, Romantic Homicide, was released on September 7th, which happens to be Celeste Rivas's birthday. The lyrics, in the back of my mind, I killed you, suddenly took on this really sinister new meaning. And even more chilling, they found a leaked, unreleased song of his, actually titled Celeste, with these haunting lyrics describing a girl with his name tattooed on her chest. And then came what might be the most heartbreaking allegation of all. This leaked Discord message, supposedly from D4VD, says, "Me and deleted user got a kid on the way." People immediately started connecting the dots, alleging that the deleted user was Celeste. If that's true, it suggests she might have been pregnant when she died. It adds this unimaginable layer of tragedy to this whole thing. So where does all of this stand right now? Well, this digital firestorm has definitely translated into very real-world consequences, and it's fueling an active police investigation. So directly because of the car being found, police got a search warrant for this Hollywood Hills home that his manager had rented, a home D4VD had actually been pictured at on his Instagram. Crime scene techs were there for hours, and they ended up removing multiple large trash bags filled with potential evidence. The professional fallout, as you can imagine, has been swift and severe. D4VD has canceled his entire international tour. His reps have come out and said that he's cooperating fully with detectives. But honestly, even if he avoids charges, the sheer volume of disturbing stuff that's online has probably ended his career for good. And this whole case leaves us with a pretty profound final thought. Everything we've talked about today, the live streams, the Discord messages, the old tweets, all of it was pulled from a permanent digital record. It just goes to show you that in this age of constant documentation, the internet truly never forgets. And it really makes you wonder, when the public can become the detective, is any secret, no matter how dark it is, really safe from being uncovered?